My wife said therapy was helping us. Then I saw the therapist's referral email, and underneath it was the name of a man who was not a therapist at all. His name was Caleb Voss. He ran something called the Men's Reset Circle out of a rented office above a yoga studio in Evanston, Illinois. My wife, Hannah, had been going there every Tuesday evening for almost 4 months. She told me it was helping her understand our marriage. She told me it was helping her communicate with me. What she didn't tell me was that Caleb Voss was the man she had been meeting after dark, the man whose voice I would later hear in an audio message calling her the one person who truly saw him. And for a while, she had used therapy language to make me feel crazy for noticing anything at all. My name is Daniel Mercer. I was 46 years old when all of this happened. I lived in Wilmette with Hannah, our 14-year-old daughter Sophie, and our 9-year-old son Miles. I worked as a project manager for a commercial construction company in downtown Chicago. I spent most of my days dealing with schedules, permits, subcontractors, supply delays, and people who promised a deadline they had no intention of meeting. Construction teaches you something useful. A problem rarely begins where you first see the crack. The crack is just where it finally becomes visible. For 17 years, I thought Hannah and I had a good marriage, not perfect. Nobody with 2 kids, a mortgage, aging parents, and jobs they can't shut off at night gets to call their marriage perfect. But we had a life. We had routines. We made coffee in the same kitchen every morning. We argued about the thermostat. We watched bad crime shows after the kids went to bed. She liked sleeping with the window cracked even in November. I liked the room dark and quiet, small things, normal things, the things you stop noticing because you think they'll always be there. Hannah worked in human resources for a healthcare software company. She was intelligent, organized, and good with people in a way I had never been. She could walk into a room full of strangers and leave knowing everyone's job title, their children's names, and which one of them had recently gotten divorced. I used to admire that about her. Maybe I still did, even after I had reasons not to. The changes started slowly. That's always how people describe it, and I used to think it was a lazy phrase. But it's true. Nobody wakes up one morning and realizes their marriage has become a different country. You notice the border only after you've crossed it. Hannah began using phrases she had never used before. You're catastrophizing. You're not respecting my boundary. You're projecting your insecurity onto me. You're emotionally dysregulated right now. The first time she said it, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it sounded like something from a podcast. We had been arguing about a dinner she missed. Sophie had a school presentation that night. Hannah promised she would be there by 6:30. At 7:10, I got a text that said she was processing something important and needed space. She arrived after the kids were in bed. I asked where she had been. She dropped her purse on the counter, stared at me for a second, and said, "Daniel, I'm not going to be interrogated in my own home." I said, "I'm not interrogating you. I'm asking why you missed Sophie's presentation." She folded her arms. "You always make everything about your needs." That sentence sat in my chest for days, because I had been asking about Sophie. Not me, but Hannah had a way of saying things that made you question the order of events, the shape of your own memory. She could take a simple question and make it sound like an accusation. Then she would look hurt by the accusation she had invented. "I'm trying to heal," she told me later that night. "But you keep pulling me back into the same unhealthy dynamic." "What dynamic?" "The one where I have to manage your feelings." I remember standing beside the kitchen sink, looking at 2 cereal bowls I still hadn't washed, and wondering if I had become the kind of husband who made his wife afraid to speak honestly. That was the worst part. Not the late nights, not the guarded phone, not even the way she stopped touching me unless I initiated it. It was the doubt. She made me doubt whether I was allowed to notice what was happening in my own life. A few weeks later, she told me she had found a therapist. "Not exactly therapy," she said. "It's more holistic relationship work." What does that mean? It means it doesn't turn everything into a diagnosis. I remember saying, "Okay, is it helping?" She smiled at me, but it wasn't the old Hannah smile. It was softer, patient, like I was a difficult employee she had already decided not to fire. It's helping me understand what I need. I should have asked what that meant, but I wanted it to be good news. I wanted to believe that a wife looking for help was better than a wife looking for a way out. Every Tuesday, Hannah left at 6:15. She wore jeans, boots, and usually one of the sweaters I had bought her over the years. But she started changing before she left. I would come home from work and find her in one outfit. Then, 20 minutes later, she would walk through the kitchen in another. Nothing dramatic, just small differences. A different blouse, a necklace she used to wear only when we went out, perfume she stopped wearing around me years earlier. The perfume was called Amber Smoke. I knew because I bought it for her on our 10th anniversary. She told me it was too strong. Then one Tuesday night, I hugged her goodbye at the door and smelled it on her neck. Not the faint leftover scent from an old bottle. Fresh, carefully applied. She saw my face change. "What?" she asked. "Nothing." "Daniel." I shook my head. "You smell nice." She looked at me for a second too long. Then she said, "Am I not allowed to wear perfume now?" That was how every conversation went. A question became an attack. A concern became a violation. A fact became evidence of my instability. So I stopped asking. And I started paying attention. I didn't put trackers on her car. I didn't install hidden cameras. I didn't break into her phone or hire somebody to follow her. I had too much respect for myself to become a man who needed to sneak around in the dark. But I began writing down what I could see in plain daylight. Tuesdays, the time she left, the time she came home, the amount of gas she used, the time she said she had group work, the exact words she repeated after each session. Caleb said accountability doesn't mean surrendering autonomy. Caleb says couples confuse closeness with control. Caleb says some men feel threatened when women stop making themselves small. The first time she said his name, I asked, "Caleb is your therapist?" She took off her coat slowly. "He's a facilitator." "For what?" "A support group. For women?" She gave me that disappointed look again. "It's not that binary." I let it go, but I remembered. The email appeared on a Thursday morning in February. Our printer sat in a small cabinet beside the kitchen. It was connected to the household Wi-Fi because I used it for permits, and Hannah sometimes used it for work documents. Sophie printed school assignments there. Miles printed dinosaur facts he found online and taped them all over his bedroom wall. That morning, I was packing lunch for the kids when the printer started making noise. One page, then another, then a third. I almost ignored it, but the first sheet landed face up. The subject line said, Referral for continued relational support. I recognized Hannah's personal email address, and below it, I saw her therapist's name, Dr. Nora Bennett. I knew Nora because Hannah had mentioned her once. She was a licensed couples counselor in Skokie. Hannah had attended 3 sessions alone after telling me she needed individual space before shared work. The email was short. Dr. Bennett wrote that she had not referred Hannah to any outside program and that she was concerned Hannah had represented the arrangement inaccurately. Then came the line that made my hands go cold. "Mr. Voss is not a licensed clinician, and I have no professional relationship with the Men's Reset Circle." Underneath, in Hannah's forwarded message thread, was Caleb's name. Caleb Voss. And one more sentence from him. "Tonight isn't about analyzing your marriage, Hannah. Tonight is about remembering how it feels to be wanted without having to explain yourself." I stood in my kitchen with a sandwich bag in one hand and a slice of turkey in the other. The coffee maker hissed behind me. Miles was upstairs brushing his teeth. Sophie was looking for her history folder, and there was a printed page in front of me telling me that the man my wife called her relationship guide was telling her how good it felt to be wanted. I read it 4 times. Then I heard Sophie coming down the stairs. I folded the paper, put it in the inside pocket of my work jacket, and finished making lunch. That was the moment I stopped doubting my instincts. Not because I knew every detail, but because I finally knew the truth had a shape, and shapes can be measured. That day, I called Dr. Bennett's office from the parking lot outside my job site. I did not pretend to be Hannah. I did not ask for private records. I said, "My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm Hannah Mercer's husband. I received a printed email that appears to involve your name. I'm not asking you to disclose anything confidential. I only need to know if the message is authentic." The receptionist took my number. Dr. Bennett called me 40 minutes later. Her voice was careful. "Mr. Mercer, I can't discuss your wife's sessions. I understand, but I can say this. I did not refer your wife to Caleb Voss, and I did not endorse any relationship program run by him." "Was Hannah seeing you?" A pause. "I can't answer that." That told me enough. I sat in my truck and stared at an unfinished office building across the street. Steel beams, open floors, nothing hidden. I thought about all the times Hannah had said, "My therapist thinks you need to respect this. My therapist says I need emotional safety. My therapist says I need a space where I'm not judged." But it wasn't therapy. It was Caleb. And Caleb was not helping her repair our marriage. He was helping her build a story in which our marriage was the prison, and he was the man who set her free. That evening, Hannah came home at 5:30, earlier than usual. She had Thai takeout in one hand and a bright, tired smile on her face. "I thought we could have a nice night," she said. That was when I understood something terrible. Sometimes people are kind to you because they love you, and sometimes they are kind because they need you calm enough not to look too closely. We ate with the kids. We watched Miles explain, in great detail, why a T-Rex would beat a Triceratops in a fight. Sophie rolled her eyes and kept stealing noodles from Hannah's plate. For 20 minutes, I could almost pretend. Then Hannah looked at her phone. Her face changed. Not much, just a softening around the eyes, a private smile. The smile was not for me, it was not for our children. It was for a man named Caleb Voss. After dinner, she took a shower. Her phone stayed on the kitchen counter. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. A notification appeared on her lock screen. "Caleb, still thinking about last Tuesday. You didn't have to say a word. I knew what you wanted." Then another one. "Caleb, same wine tomorrow? I'll bring the room key." I took a picture of the screen with my own phone. Then I put her phone exactly where it had been. I didn't feel rage. Not yet. I felt something colder. Clarity. The next morning, I called a family law attorney. Her name was Dana Klein. She came recommended by a coworker who had gone through a custody dispute years earlier. I told her only the facts. I had evidence of an affair. I had evidence that my wife had lied about counseling. We had 2 children. I wanted to protect them, protect myself, and avoid turning our home into a war zone. Dana listened. Then she said something I will never forget. "Mr. Mercer, you do not need to win every emotional argument. You need to make sound decisions while you still can." That became my rule. Not revenge, not humiliation. Sound decisions. I copied our financial records. I made a list of joint accounts and household bills. I documented the dates Hannah missed school events and family commitments. I changed nothing. I moved no money. I did not block her access to anything. I simply stopped being blind. Then Tuesday came. At 6:15, Hannah came downstairs wearing a black sweater, dark jeans, and the amber smoke perfume. She picked up her bag. "I'll be back around 9, she said. "Group night?" She looked at me, surprised I had asked. "Yes. Is Caleb there tonight?" Her hand tightened around the strap of her bag. "Why?" "No reason." Her eyes narrowed. "Daniel, I'm not doing this." "Doing what?" "You know exactly what. You get anxious. You start looking for certainty. And suddenly I'm not allowed to have anything that belongs to me." I looked at my wife. Really looked at her. She was dressed for another man. She was about to leave our house to meet him in a hotel room, and she was telling me I was violating her boundaries because I asked his name. So I said, "You can leave if you want to leave, but don't call my question a problem with my nervous system." She froze. I continued, "A boundary is what you choose to do. It isn't a rule that says I'm not allowed to ask where my wife is going." Her face went pale. For a moment, I saw fear. Then anger rushed in to cover it. "You've been reading things online." "No," I said. "I've been listening to what you say." She stared at me for another second. Then she walked out. I did not follow her. Instead, I made dinner for the kids. I helped Miles with his math homework. I watched Sophie quietly delete and rewrite a text to her mother 3 times before she finally put the phone down. At 8:47, Hannah texted me. "Running late. Deep session. Please don't wait up." At 9:02, another message appeared. It wasn't from Hannah. It was from an unknown number. "Mr. Mercer, my name is Leah. I'm sorry to contact you this way. I think you need to know that your wife is with Caleb Voss." There was a photo attached, not explicit. It didn't need to be. Hannah and Caleb sat at the bar of a small boutique hotel in Chicago. She was leaning close to him, her hand under the table, his head tilted toward her. Her coat hung over the back of a chair. A bottle of red wine sat between them. On the counter beside Caleb was a white keycard. Leah wrote that she was Caleb's former partner. She had learned about Hannah because Caleb had left his laptop open in their shared apartment months earlier. Leah didn't know whether to reach out. But when she saw Hannah enter the hotel that night, she decided she was done protecting a man who used support work to impress vulnerable women. I asked her one question. "How long?" Her reply came almost immediately. "At least 5 months, maybe longer." He told her she was trapped in a marriage that made her smaller. He tells every woman some version of that. I didn't answer again. I saved the message. Then I put my phone down. I went upstairs and checked on my children. Miles was asleep with his dinosaur lamp still on. Sophie was awake. "Is Mom okay?" she asked. I sat on the edge of her bed. "She's out tonight." "She's been out a lot." "Yes." She looked at me for a moment. "Are you and Mom fighting?" I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to unload all the weight I had been carrying and let somebody else hold it. But she was 14. She was my daughter, not my witness, not my therapist, not my ally in a war against her mother. "Your mom and I are dealing with adult problems," I said. "You don't have to solve them. You just need to know that I love you and I'm here." She nodded. Then she said, "Okay, Dad." And I sat there for a few seconds after she closed her eyes, because sometimes the smallest kindness is the thing that keeps you from becoming someone you don't want to be. Hannah came home at 10:53, not 9, not after a deep session, almost 4 hours after she left. She came through the back door quietly. She took off her boots. She checked her reflection in the dark microwave door before she saw me sitting at the kitchen table. She stopped. There was red wine on her breath. Her hair was loose. Her necklace was turned backward, the clasp resting at the front of her throat, and there was a faint crease across the side of her face, as if she had rested against someone's shoulder for a long time. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" she asked. "I was waiting." "You didn't have to." "No," I said. "I guess I didn't." She set her purse down. "What's going on?" I pulled the printed email from my jacket pocket and placed it on the table. Then I put down the photo Leah sent. Then I put down a page with the dates of her supposed therapy sessions, the school events she missed, and the hotel charges that appeared on our joint credit card under vague names. Hannah looked at the pages. At first, she didn't cry. She laughed once, small and sharp. "This is unbelievable." "What is?" "You're tracking me?" "I'm documenting what affects our family." "You went through my things." "No, your email printed in our kitchen. Your phone lit up on our counter. The hotel charge came through our joint account." She stared at me. You don't understand. Then explain. She paced toward the sink. You've been distant for years. I have? Yes. You're always at work. You come home exhausted. You don't ask how I feel unless I'm already crying. That may be true, I said. It doesn't make this therapy. Her jaw tightened. Caleb listened to me. Caleb rented hotel rooms for you. That wasn't how it started, but that's what it became. She looked down. For the first time all night, she had no language ready, no boundary, no trigger, no diagnosis, just silence. Then she whispered, I didn't mean for it to get this far. I nodded. Did you kiss him? She closed her eyes. Yes. How long ago? November. Did you sleep with him? Her face changed. She did not answer. And silence can be an answer. I looked at the photo again. At the wine. At the key card. At the woman I had spent 17 years trusting. Then I said, You told me you were healing our marriage while you were building a relationship with another man. She began to cry. I was lonely. I believed that she felt lonely. I also knew loneliness was not a permission slip. You could have told me, I said. I tried. No, you told me I was unsafe every time I asked you a direct question. You called me controlling when I wanted honesty. You used words meant for healing to keep me from seeing what you were doing. She covered her face. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't call her names. I didn't need to. The truth was already in the room. You'll stay with your sister tonight, I said. Tomorrow, your attorney can contact mine. We will make a parenting plan that protects Sophie and Miles. We will be honest with them in a way they can handle. But you are not sleeping in this house tonight. Daniel, please. I'm not making this decision because I hate you. She looked up at me. Then why? Because I need one place in my life where reality doesn't get rewritten every time you're uncomfortable. She packed one bag. Not because I made her rush, because she had apparently been preparing for this moment longer than I had. She took a small black suitcase from the back of the closet. It was already half full. Toiletries, a spare charger, a few clothes, makeup, the perfume, amber smoke. She saw me notice it. Her face collapsed. I kept it in there because I didn't want you to think anything. I looked at the suitcase. That was the point, Hannah. She left at 12:18 a.m. The house went quiet, not peaceful. Not yet, just quiet. The divorce process took 11 months. There was no dramatic courtroom victory. No judge gave speeches. No one handed me a perfect ending in a folder. There were meetings, mediation, school schedules, financial statements, hard conversations. Hannah eventually admitted the affair had been physical and ongoing. Caleb had told her he was emotionally separated from Leah. Leah later confirmed he had never been separated at all. He had used the men's reset circle to build authority around men who felt lost, then privately positioned himself as an expert on women who felt unseen. He didn't need to call himself a therapist to make people trust him. He only needed to sound certain. That is something I understand now. A person can use all the right words and still be leading you somewhere wrong. Hannah moved into an apartment in Skokie. She found an actual licensed therapist on her own. I did too, not because I thought I was broken, because I had spent too long being told that my perception was the problem. I needed a place where I could say, this happened, and not have someone ask whether I was allowed to feel it. Sophie started seeing a counselor after school. Miles had a few bad weeks where he kept asking why Mom didn't live with us anymore. We gave him simple, age-appropriate answers. We never made him carry details that belonged to adults. Hannah and I learned how to talk about schedules through a shared app. No late-night arguments, no vague explanations, no weaponized words, just facts. Pick up at 5. Dentist appointment Thursday. Sophie's recital at 7. Miles needs new cleats. Over time, I stopped waiting for Hannah to understand exactly what she had done to me. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. But I learned that healing cannot depend on the person who hurt you finally finding the perfect apology. Sometimes healing is smaller. It's sleeping through the night. It's cooking breakfast without checking someone else's face for danger. It's hearing your daughter laugh in the next room. It's realizing you can ask a question and no longer be afraid of the answer. 1 year after Hannah left, I took Sophie and Miles to Lake Michigan on a Saturday morning. It was cold enough that the wind hurt your ears. Miles threw rocks into the water and counted the skips wrong on purpose. Sophie took photos of the waves and pretended she wasn't enjoying herself. I stood there with a paper cup of coffee in my hands, and I thought about the first email, the one that showed me a name underneath a lie. For months, I had believed that Hannah's language made her wiser than me, more emotionally evolved, more awake. But real healing does not demand blindness from the people who love you. Real boundaries do not forbid honest questions. Real therapy does not turn accountability into control. And love that requires you to deny what you can clearly see is not love. It is just another room with the lights turned off. I had spent too long standing in that darkness, so I walked out. Finally CTA. And that's where this story ends. If someone kept telling you that your questions were the problem, but the facts kept telling a different story, what would you trust? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy grounded stories about betrayal, boundaries, and rebuilding a life with dignity, subscribe for the next story.
Clock strikes, silence wraps the room. A gentle breath, memories bloom. In corners where laughter used to spill, you linger here, you always will. Yeah.
Curtains drawn, the sunlight spills on me, tracing lines you left in quiet honesty. Words unspoken, pressed in dust and air. Soft echoes marking everywhere. Yeah.
Heartbeat steady in the hush you made.
Caught between retreat and the parade, I find myself replaying every scene, every little whisper in between.
You are the thunder in a sunlit haze, the taste of coffee at the break of day. Still I wear your favorite jacket, walk familiar alleys, looking for laughter we used to chase.
I couldn't bow the lyric.
She steps in, painted in autumn tones, speaking truth in melodies grown. Her words a shelter from the gentle rain, wishing I could go back there again. We made mistakes tied up in time, but every fall felt worth the climb. When comfort wore your cologne and smile, a moment's warmth that stays a while. You are the thunder in a sunlit haze, the taste of coffee at the break of day. Still I wear your favorite jacket,